You've seen it. Some of you probably experienced it personally, or you've experienced it in your homes. We want you to know that we're here because we care. We've got a couple people up here today that have taken time off of work. I don't know if they were vacation days. I don't know if it's unpaid time, but it is important to them to be here to share their story because they don't want you to go where they have been. I told you the name of our group's A Better Life, Brianna's Hope. Here's Brianna's story in a couple of different ways. You're going to hear it in a very unique way now. John Wenger, will you come and share, please?
What's up, guys? So I remember sitting in here in high school, and they had a speaker come in and talk about drugs. And I just remember leaving smiling. It almost like they glamorized it. So I want to make sure I keep it as real as possible, because I got one goal today, one mission. If we can save one of your lives from going down the path that I went, that Brianna went, that the people behind us went, I would consider that a success. And hopefully it doesn't just start with one, but it leads to more. Before I talk a little bit about my story, I'm also going to talk about Brianna. I've known Brianna since I was in kindergarten. I grew up with her in Dunkirk. She was my girlfriend in 6th grade, then again in 8th grade, and then we were inseparable in high school. So 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. I walked this very girl into prom my senior year. I walked her down for homecoming queen, also my senior year. You know, it's funny, it started off great, and then drugs trickled in. You know, my son, he's 6 years old. He's been bugging the crap out of me for a magnifying glass. And finally, I just either choke him or go get one. So I went and got one. And all I could think about was, okay, it's used to check out the fine print. So you can see the hidden message in between the lines. And that's where we messed up, Brianna and I. We didn't realize what drugs would lead us to. All we could think about was that sudden high. You know, that feeling you get for the 30, 60 minutes. We didn't realize what it could lead to 10 years down the road. When you think about using drugs, I want you to ask yourself this question. Ladies, would you like to sell yourself for drugs? Think about that, because that's what Brianna ended up doing. She had to have drugs so bad that she ended up selling her body for it. So think about that next time you pick up drugs. Okay, who wants to be dropped off in the woods and found weeks later, dead? Because that's where Brianna ended up. You know, and it just started with a little buzz. A couple pills, a couple drinks, a couple joints. This is where it ends up. It never turns out good. So please remember that. As far as me, I grew up an athlete. I love sports. You would not see me without a glove in my hand, a basketball in my hand, a football, you name it, I'm down. And just to explain the aggressiveness of the disease, you know, as an athlete, you never smoke cigarettes. That's sports 101. You know it affects your lungs. You're taught from an early age. And I always stayed away. Well, guess what? Eventually I didn't. And that's when the disease started. I started smoking cigarettes. Well, the next thing you know, it's smoking a little bit of weed on the weekends, maybe drinking a little bit. It didn't seem like harm, right? Having fun, but it just slowly kept progressing. By my freshman year, I was so pumped up. I know I was going to start JV my last game. Maybe if Coach Craig was going to put me in, I don't know. But anyways, I took a shot to the leg. Had a hematoma the size of a softball in my leg that had to be removed. And I'll never forget that because that's when I was introduced to pills. Seemed like the right thing to do, right? I mean, it's coming from a doctor, medically prescribed. I didn't like it. Honestly, it made me feel sick to my stomach. But what do you know? I have a friend because I'm already on that path where I'm leading away from the good influences in my life and starting to hang out with the ones that are rebelling. And he says, well, yeah, don't do them. Try these. So that led to doing some Percocet. That changed my life right there. I was hooked. Immediately, I was hooked. It got to the point where it was no longer smoking occasionally or the weekends. It was becoming an everyday event. Basketball seemed less important to me. Nope, done with baseball. Don't have time for that. I got to get high. And the whole time I'm getting high, I'm doing it with this lady right here. Like I said, we are inseparable. By the time I got to my senior year, second game in basketball, I'm on the court and I look over at my buddy who's now dead from a car accident, decapitated from alcohol. He's laughing at me because I can't breathe through my nostrils, and it's from all the pills I was snorting. And nobody really knew how deep I was starting to get in. I don't know if it was because I was avoiding the good people in my life that maybe knew, or if nobody was even reaching out to me. And that just led to one thing after another. And I ended up quitting basketball. My true passion, my true love, I couldn't even make it through my senior year. And still to this day, it has a burden on me. I hate that I gave up. I hate that I couldn't do it because of the drug addiction. Fast forward till after high school, surely I got my life together, right? Everyone's starting to go to college, plan out their life, not me. Drugs have taken me over. I have to get high every day to survive. That's kind of where I was. And that's when cops came involved. Started getting arrested, possession charges. It was just one thing after another, and I was too blind. At that point, I'm too blind to realize what I'm doing in my life. I don't even know if, like I said, I don't know if anybody was trying to tell me, John, what are you doing? I don't know if I was even listening at that point. That's why it's important to stop it now. If you're in it now, stop. You do not want to be left in the woods dead. You do not want to sell your body. You do not want to go down the path that I went down. Moving forward, still racking up criminal charges, can't keep a job. At this point, everyone in Dunkirk's hooked on Opanas, getting prescribed by doctors. It was just a bad, looking back, it was just so obvious. You could see the turmoil it was causing. But like I said, when you're in the middle of that addiction, the only thing you can think about is getting high. And that's when I experienced dope sick for the first time. 19, 20 years old. I didn't understand why I kept waking up sick. What is wrong with me? And I remember Brianna laughing at me. She's like, "You're dope sick." I didn't even know what it was. Didn't know you could get dope sick. Boy, then as soon as I got high, that sickness went away, and I realized real quick, I was dope sick. So here we are, 2 charges, 3 charges later. I can't stay out of trouble. My life's a mess. I remember looking on Facebook and seeing kids I went to school with. They're beginning to graduate college. It looks like their life's going good. Not me. I'm hiding in depression, drugs. I was a mess. And eventually introduced to heroin. And that's a game changer right there. Spending lots of money on that. At that point, I'm not shooting dope yet, but I'm kind of questioning whether I should. That guy's spending $10, I'm spending $100. Maybe I ought to shoot the dope, right? That seems like a logical explanation, and that would help me as a drug addict. And that's when that's how progressive the disease is. I go from not wanting to smoke to smoking, to not wanting to drink to drinking, to not wanting to do needles. And guess what? The very first needle I touched was a dirty needle. She sat there and told me she had hepatitis C, and I still put it in my arm. That's how far gone I was. So please remember, it never turns out good. It may seem fun now, it won't be. Don't end up dead. These people don't have a chance to come back and tell their story. By the grace of God, I stand before you almost 8 years clean. I'm a different man. I'm glad I was able to come back and tell my testimony. And I only used the restroom once before here, so that's a start. That means I'm improving on my public speaking. So thank you and God bless.